Hi guys, I hope that you're all well and having a good day. Today we're going to have a bit more of a chilled out, laid back, chatty, heart to heart, maybe not heart to heart, mind to mind video about money and shopping for food and what I personally do, any tips that I might have for you guys when it comes to buying your food shopping. I notice a lot of the time in the comment section of videos that there are a lot of comments from people who maybe don't cook from scratch but they think it's going to be too expensive, or they are a bit intimidated by how much certain foods can cost, because there is this kind of, I don't want to say myth because it definitely can be expensive, but there is this school of thought that eating healthily is really expensive, and it really doesn't have to be. And this video is, although it's titled how to eat healthily on a budget, it will apply to any kind of eating. It doesn't matter whether you're vegan, paleo, raw, whatever. Hopefully these tips will help you to save money whatever kind of lifestyle you lead, but the aim here is to kind of cook more meals from scratch and just buy more fresh ingredients. As always, if you have any tips or if you've got anything that you want to share, then please leave them in the comments below, and hopefully that can be a really informative source of information. But I have 10 main points that I'm going to try and stick to, because we all know that I like to ramble. So the first thing that I wanted to say is to cook from scratch where possible and be really realistic with yourself. Set goals. So if you know that your lifestyle at the moment is not conducive to cooking from scratch every night. I again get comments from people saying it's okay for you because you work from home and you're really lucky you can just go to the kitchen and make yourself a healthy lunch, and it's not that easy if you work in an office, and I totally get that, but you have to remember I'm 29 and I've not always worked from home. I've worked in retail environments, I've worked in offices, places like restaurants, and you know, more service roles where you were working antisocial hours, working evenings, so I've been through my fair share of having random lunch breaks and being at the mercy of someone else, so I do know what that feels like, even though that's not my current situation. And I think definitely being organised and preparing things helps, and I'll do a whole other episode on food prep and sort of where you can cut corners and save time there. But that's where the goals come in, and just thinking about it a little bit and being realistic with yourself. If you're currently eating 7 nights out of the week, you're not cooking from scratch, set yourself a little goal and be really realistic with yourself and say, okay, I'm going to cook from scratch twice this week, I'm going to cook from scratch 3 times this week, whatever you feel like you can manage. Look up the recipe, get yourself in that routine, and you know, ease yourself in. If you throw yourself in at the deep end and you buy all these ingredients and you have all these complicated recipes, you're going to come in from work, you're going to see all this food and you're just going to want to ring for a takeaway because you're not being realistic and setting yourself goals that you can follow. Secondly, I think definitely don't rush into it. Don't go buying everything that you have seen on Instagram accounts or on YouTube channels or blogs. You don't need to run out and buy a huge tub of protein powder or a huge jar of coconut oil or chia seeds or kale, snap pea crisps, all these kind of trendy health foods. Oh, not really trendy, because I love all of those things, but you know, you don't have to go out and rush into buying all these ingredients that you've seen other people use, and waste a ton of money and a ton of time on things that you might not even like. So stick to the basics, you know, fruits, vegetables, the things that you know you're more used to and you like. Start off that way. And then if you want to try quinoa, you've never tried quinoa, get a bag of quinoa one week. Or if you want to try cooking with coconut oil, maybe get a little thing of coconut oil one week. But don't run out and be like, okay, I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this cleanse and all this kind of stuff, because it's not, you're just going to overwhelm yourself if you're not used to cooking from scratch. Third thing, if you are already someone who likes to cook but you find yourself wasting a lot of ingredients, which is me, I'm not proud of that, because it really makes me sick when I throw food away. I hate that. It's the worst thing in the world. There's always people starving in the world and I'm throwing away food that I've not even eaten because I bought too much, or I didn't plan my meals out, or I bought things and then I made plans and didn't eat in that night, and it's just really a disgusting thing to do, let's be frank, but we've all done it, we've all thrown food away. And I think if you sit down, I like to do it on a Sunday or a Saturday, whenever I can just have a bit of time, with Matt, and I like to sit down together and look at the food that we might want to eat that week. Generally I like to do maybe like 5 recipes a week, maybe 4 or 5. Some of them are things that I've made before, some are not. And the reason I do 5 is because there's usually something like leftovers, things lurking around in my freezer that I've made beforehand. So like 4 to 5 recipes a week, manageable. I write down every single thing in a big list that I'm going to need for those recipes, so everything. Like write down everything the recipe says, like butter, salt, everything that you're going to need, and then take that list and go into your kitchen and cross off everything that you've got enough of, because there have been so many times, and I'm sure you've had this as well, that you've gone into a supermarket and you thought, oh, I need chickpeas because I'm making that recipe, and then you think, do I have chickpeas? In that moment you panic and you think, oh, I'll just get one, I'll get one. That adds up. Go into your kitchen, cross everything off your list, kind of do a little shop in your kitchen, and then take your revised list to the supermarket and stick to your list. Make sure you really stick to this. I just want to make a point as well that shopping on a budget is not necessarily about not having a lot of money. It could be that you don't have a huge monthly spend to allocate to food. It could be that, or it could be that you're saving up for something or whatever. But I think even the richest people, if they're smart, budget a little bit. You don't have to be super strict necessarily, depending on your situation, but everybody should budget a little bit. Otherwise, like I said, you waste a lot of money on food, you throw a lot of things away, and it's good to just be a little bit more organised, because I think if you're trying to be healthy as well, those two things will go hand in hand. The way that I shop cheaply while still eating well and eating healthily and getting good quality ingredients is that I do a savvier shop and I shop around. So I don't go to one supermarket and buy all of my groceries in one place. I go to maybe 4, depending on the week, different shops to get my food, and it doesn't take a lot of time. A lot of people, when I tell them this, they say, oh, that must take you so long, I can't be bothered, it's just easier. It's not, it really isn't. The reason that it doesn't take a long time is because if you think about the way that a modern supermarket is set up, it is a psychological minefield. So there are people in huge departments that work for these big corporations that sit down and plan out your journey as a customer, and where you're going to go in the shop, what you're going to be drawn to, and what kind of smell when you walk around this corner is going to drag you in. You have people doing taste tests, you have big displays, and they've planned all that out. You go in for one thing and you come out with like a whole trolley, and you've been in there for 2 hours, and you're like, oh, how did that happen? They know how that happened because they planned for that to happen. I will go into huge Tesco's and Asda's and walk around and look at all the displays, and I do that. I'm not saying that I never do that, but if you are trying to save money and if you are wanting to come at it from the angle of just getting the food that you want to get, then you do need to think about these things before you go in. The list is going to be the thing that anchors you and just helps you get in and get out, get on with your day, and spend your time doing, you know, more enjoyable things like actually being outside in the sunshine rather than just wandering around like a zombie looking at all the things that the advertisers want you to look at. So for my groceries, the first place that I go is to Aldi. Now, I love Aldi. It's one of my favourite places to get food, and there used to be a lot of snobbery about Aldi. I think some people are still really snobby about Aldi, and I will never understand that. Aldi, for those of you that don't know, is a supermarket chain that their supermarkets are quite small. I know that they are throughout the UK, and I think they may be German. Their supermarkets are quite small, the range is quite limited, so it's got everything that you would need. For specialty ingredients you might need to go elsewhere, but it's got pretty much everything that you would need. But there is one type of milk. They don't sell, you know, 20 different brands of milk or 30 different types of frosted flakes for your cereal. You know, you'll just get the own brand. They just sell stock that's for them, rather than selling lots of brand names. Now, they do stock brand names as well, and I've noticed that increasingly they stock brand names. So they have Yorkshire tea, which I love. They have, you know, Old El Paso, fajita, Mexican stuff. They have different brand names now. They sell Coca-Cola and all that kind of stuff. But mostly, and how it originated, was just their own brand things. It's cheaper for many different reasons. Firstly, they don't provide any bags. They don't provide any kind of loyalty card, which does cost you a lot of money. The other thing thing is that they only ever have like 1, maybe 2 people on the checkouts. When I go to Aldi, I am through straight away. You don't pack your bags at the till, you just throw them all in the trolley and then you pack them in the packing area. So they get people through really quickly, so they don't have to employ as many staff. They don't stack the shelves, they don't take everything out and put everything on display. They just put the boxes on the shelves and you just take them out of the boxes, so that again they're just cutting the staff right down. If you don't have an Aldi, I would recommend going to your nearest market. The fruits and vegetables that if you can get from your local market sellers are really nice quality, and they will probably cost you a lot less than they would elsewhere. I'll buy things like passata, dried beans, I'll buy my flour, my fruits, my vegetables. Now a lot of people are caught up in buying organic, and if I could every week I would buy everything organic, but it's not practical all of the time. So let me put it to you this way: if you are not eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, it's way better for you to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables but not eat organic than to eat none at all and eat ready meals. Just improve on what you're doing now, and if you can't buy everything organic, then you can't buy everything organic. I think I'll link below the Dirty Dozen, which are 12 items that is recommended that you buy organic over other ones. Not everything has to be organic, because a lot of fruits and vegetables will have a thick outer shell that you don't eat, or that is removed, or, you know, and the pesticides and other things won't permeate into the fruit or vegetables. You know, if you want to buy everything organic and that's your thing, then that's fine, but don't let that hold you back from eating fruits and vegetables, because you can still get really good produce in places like Aldi. I tend to buy my key items from other shops, so probably every week I'll go to Aldi and then I'll go to Asda because they do a chipotle paste that I really like. Can't get things like quinoa or jalapenos, things like that, in Aldi all the time, so I'll go and buy those from Asda or from Tesco. When I can't get something from Aldi, I'll usually go to the other shops, and I'll maybe just go to them once a month and stock up, and then I just go to Aldi every week. Or there have been instances where I've gone to 4 shops to do my weekly shopping, and it's still taken me only about 40 minutes because they're all close to each other where I live. And when I go to Asda or somewhere like that, I can be in there for over an hour looking in the homeware section, looking around this, looking around that. I can be in there for such a long time, and I can be in and out of Aldi in, I would say, 15 minutes. Another thing that I would say is look into growing your own fruits and vegetables. It is not as difficult as people make out. You don't have to have a big outdoor space to be able to do it, and you don't have to have a massive vegetable patch or an allotment. There are a lot of resources online where you can look at people's like balcony gardens for growing vegetables, and you'd be surprised how easy and, you know, how cheap it can be once you've started yourself off and you're self-sufficient, and then you know it's organic or where everything's come from. I'm a vegetarian, so my opinion on this is slightly different, but we do eat a hell of a lot of meat nowadays, more meat than we've ever eaten before, thanks to factory farming and just an abundance of meat in the shop. I do feel very strongly about buying good quality meat, and I've always said that to Matt, like, I don't want to buy like crappy quality meat. You don't know where it's come from, because you're just putting all those antibiotics, all those illnesses and diseases into your body, that the animals have lived in these squalid environments, and you don't want to eat that. You don't want to put that into your body, even if you're not looking at it from an animal rights point of view. You don't want that. Go make friends with your local butcher, and go to your local markets or go to your local butchers. I know they're dying out a lot over the country, but go and find a local butcher, go to a farm shop. The majority of people that I have met are really helpful, and they're more than happy to help you out. If you strike up a weekly relationship where your butcher knows you go in every Saturday and he knows you've got roughly this much money to spend on meat that week, who knows, when they're cutting the meat earlier on in the day or they're preparing things, they might see a cut of meat that they know, oh, you might like that because it's a little bit cheaper, and they can help you, you know, with budgeting. My last tip is to pay attention to how you buy food and whereabouts in the supermarket you buy the items from. Firstly, like things like vegetables like green beans, cauliflower, broccoli, parsnips, you know, carrots, Swedes, anything well, anything, berries, any particular kind of fruit or vegetable, if it's much easier for you, buy it frozen. A lot of the time the frozen vegetables and fruits actually have more nutrients because they were picked and then frozen straight away. So you're not necessarily doing yourself anything bad as opposed to eating really fresh ingredients, because they are still fresh, they've just been frozen. It's way more accessible, way cheaper. The other thing is things like beans, rice, quinoa. Just buy it dried. It's not that difficult to cook. I've got a whole video on cooking quinoa. I definitely buy things like chickpeas, pinto beans, turtle beans, anything like that. I buy dried, lentils, all that kind of stuff. Buy them dried, and again, if you've written your list and you're a bit organised with what you're going to be eating that week, it's really not a big deal to take a cup of those beans, put them in some water and leave them soaking overnight, and you can get a huge bag for the same price as you can get like maybe 1.5 cans, and it'll go a long way. Also spices. Spices, if you're cooking from scratch, herbs and things like that are your best friends. I go into the regular aisle and I can get a little jar of paprika for maybe £1, £1.20 in the jar. I already have my own jars. I only need more paprika, and I go into the world food aisle and for like 70p there's this huge bag of paprika, and then I just buy that, I put it in the jar, and then I seal it up and store it in a Ziploc bag, and it lasts me a long time. Nuts, seeds, all that kind of stuff. It's really interesting. Go into the world food aisle, see these huge bags of nuts. They're unsalted, they're just regular, like, you know, pistachios, cashews, walnuts, whatever. Look at that, look at the size of the bag, and then go into the like healthy eating aisle and you'll get this little bag with, like, you know, it's all brown and it's like all whole earth, like healthy. It's no different. Look at the country of origin, they very often come from the same place, and the little bag will be, I guarantee you, double or triple the price. And also things like chickpea flour, polenta, almond flour. Almond flour is just ground up almonds, and you can buy ground almonds and desiccated coconut, all those kinds of things in the world food aisle in huge bags. Be mindful of the marketing techniques that supermarkets do employ to get you to buy the products in the areas that they think you should be buying the products. That is the end of my tips. I know this video was quite long, but I wanted to get in as much information as I could, and I really hope that it was helpful and that there are some tips in there that you can employ to, you know, be a bit more organised, save money, and be able to eat healthily and cook from scratch while still sticking to a budget. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!